So Debbie, thanks for taking time to have a chat today. We always talk about interesting things whenever we
Yeah.
happen to bump into each other. And one thing I'm hearing quite a lot in the community and at the conference is there seems to be so much demand for business analysis and business analysts that companies can't seem to recruit good BAs
Yeah.
quickly enough. It doesn't seem that long ago we were talking about practices being dissolved.
Yes.
What's happened and why?
It's really weird, isn't it? I said a few years ago, there is a lot of change coming. This was before the pandemic, and what I was referring to was when Brexit actually occurred in the UK, that was inevitably going to involve a lot of change.
Yes.
And change that's going to go on for years and years. And business analysts are going to be the people who are going to have to look at what that means, analyse the impact, look at the options, etc., etc. So I felt there was going to be a need for more BAs. But of course, what happened in the lead up to that was we had the advent of we don't need business analysts.
Yes.
And that came out of probably agile as the biggest disruptor, but you also had new roles because you know what it's like, Adrian, change industry, something we're not sure about, let's have a new role. And those roles jumped into the BA landscape a bit, or said they did. And then you ended up with people saying, well, actually, maybe that's the role I should move into. Maybe I should become a product owner. Maybe I should become a business architect because my organization is hearing and therefore is saying the business analysts aren't needed.
Yeah.
Where's my career going to go? And there are opportunities in these other fields. Of course, what's now happening is it's like a pendulum and it's swinging back in regard to some of those roles where actually there are some very key responsibilities in those roles, but they're not the analysis responsibilities.
Yep.
And we're having this period of change, not only now because of regulation change through Brexit, but also we've had the pandemic. So there is so much need now for change, and the world is evolving constantly alongside this. And somewhere, I think the recognition, we need people who can actually investigate, analyse, come up with options, help us develop what we need to develop, and then help us to deploy it. That is becoming greater and greater. And we have a dearth of good business analysts now. It's a perfect storm, isn't it?
It's finally been recognised at the time that we have the least resource to actually
Yes, yes.
meet the demand. But I mean, it's really positive in a way that it's getting the recognition. I can't remember which year it was. You did the keynote at the Business Analysis Conference Europe, and you talked about waves of business analysis. The third wave.
Yes.
Is this a new wave?
Do you know, that was 2013.
Was it really?
It was.
Oh my word.
I had to look it up once, which is why I know. I know, it's incredible, isn't it? Is there a new wave, or are we achieving the third wave more? That's the question I'm sort of asking myself, because the third wave was around being that trusted advisor. It was that advisory position that actually was sort of not only allowed to look at things, to really dig under the surface, to really say, well, we're making assumptions here. We need to stop making those assumptions. We need to stop listening to conventional wisdom and alternative facts and all that great stuff, and actually look at what's really going on that we actually need to address. And I think that recognition has come.
Yep.
I think it's still developing. So I actually wonder, back in 2013, I saw shoots of that in different organisations, but actually with the disruption in between for all the things I've just mentioned, that's sort of gone away. And now I think it's coming back. And now I think we are getting senior business executives who maybe are accepting that the world of technology and change is so complex, they cannot just impose a one-size-fits-all.
Yeah.
And business analysts are right at the heart of supporting them. I really hope the third wave is happening.
It sounds like it. It sounds like the shoots were there, but now we're riding the crest,
The crest.
riding the crest of the wave.
Yeah.
And which I guess brings me to my next question, Debbie, which is if you were to think about skills, competencies, concepts, whatever that the BAs of the future or of now and the future are going to need, what should we be investing in now in terms of skills to future-proof ourselves for tomorrow?
Yeah, and I think that's a really interesting point, because there is that toolkit, and you and I know all about the toolkit.
We do.
And I think part of what we should be investing in is making sure we actually know the toolkit, because a lot of BAs do fall back on the techniques they like.
Yep.
Some BAs say, oh, yes, data models. Yes, I came across them once, and then ran in the other direction. And I think there is a need to really, really shore up that key toolkit. But in terms of extending that, where analysis is now going is it's not good enough just to be able to model the data. You've also got to be able to think about, what is this data going to be used for?
Exactly.
Exactly. So people talk about data analytics, and they talk about it in a particular way that almost separates it from analysis and modelling. But you can't separate it. If the data isn't there,
Yep.
isn't of the right quality, isn't timely, then how your analytics are going to work, I don't know. So actually, there is a way of joining up that thinking that is essential. And I think BAs not only need to understand the analytics techniques and principles, they need to understand how it ties up with the broader decision making in business that they're supporting. So I think that's one area. The other area is people.
Yes.
For me, it's, oh, do you know that term, stakeholders, Adrian? Isn't it one of those terms that puts everybody in a box?
It's interesting you say that, because in my presentation yesterday, I talked about people, perspectives and outcomes. And I said people, you might call them stakeholders, but I'm going to call them people. Because that's what they are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using the term stakeholders, but, you know.
Yeah, but they are people.
Yeah.
And people like working with people. They like emotional connection with people. They like being understood by people. And some of those people we work with, and some of those people are customers. And one of the things I worry about, and your outcomes possibly address this, is that there's been this whole focus on product for years and years and years now. Personally, product is fine as long as it's linked to the people who need to use it and gain benefit from it.
Yes.
If that link is lost, if that outcome link is lost, then what's the point of the product?
Which comes back to something we've discussed so many times around value and services and these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother conversation for another time. So Debbie, I mean, I know you've been in sessions, you've been having a whole load of conversations with a load of people. What sort of themes are emerging from the conference generally for you?
Do you know, that's really interesting, because to me, one of the key things I'm taking away relates back to what we've just been talking about. We've just had a keynote that was very sort of big. It was about the world and the world changing, and maybe the analyst role within it. And I came away from that thinking, yeah, we need to step up as a BA community. We need to make sure we've got the core skills. We need to make sure we are looking at the extended skills. We need to make sure we're doing the reading and the thinking and investing in I, which was one of the keynote's themes. And we need to step up.
Yep.
And we must stop accepting putting things in boxes and making things, you know, nice.
Yep.
Because actually the world is complex and challenging, and we need to be at the heart of that. And some of the sessions I went to yesterday, there was one where somebody was talking about changing career and moving into business analysis from the legal profession. And I thought, yeah, you looked at yourself and thought, I want to do something else. I want to work in this change arena. We've all chosen that, but we've got to step up. And that's a theme that I'm getting with all my conversations.
Isn't that interesting? Sort of like business analyst as business activist, perhaps, is a maybe.
Adrian,
maybe
brilliant.
Maybe that will stick. Who knows? You heard it here first.
Yes,
so.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Debbie. I'm sure people watching this video will want to, find out more about what you do at Assist. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Follow you on social media and/or get in touch with Assist.
Well, they can link in with me, because I'm on LinkedIn, or alternatively, they can contact Assist, and they will always pass any communications on.
Fantastic. Debbie, a pleasure to speak to you as
always, Adrian. Thanks very much.
Thanks.